All right, August trading starts on Monday. So here's the watch list going into August 1st. Quick glance at the SPY. We're still in that tight range. Nothing discernible here. It's just chopping sideways and low volume summer trading. We will just watch the individual names. I don't care that much about the overall market right now. It's just chopping sideways. We're finding some nice setups. So, okay, one thing that we look for in the chat room is things that have gotten killed, relatively speaking. And if you look at the daily candles here, you don't see really any candle the same size. I'm going all the way back to about a year, right? Any candles this same size, that kind of range to the downside or even to the upside. So that's a big range candle for this one, down into the 200 day on Friday. So we will watch this for a snapback bounce on Monday, only with an intraday setup that we teach. So again, please don't email me and say, hey, that's an ugly chart. Why would you be thinking long? I'm a day trader. I'm looking for individual setups to make money on Monday, nothing more. Okay, I do not hold overnight. So we try to put one or two potential bounce plays on the watch list every day. DELT goes on watch. It's a recent crazy mover, right? One of these low floaters that made a huge move. I mean, if I hover over this candle, it went from $1 to 314 on an intraday basis on Thursday, and then closing at $1.83 on Friday on much lower volume. Sometimes you get a really nice third day play, so that one goes on watch. TOPS, recent high flyer again. You had this pop here, then a gap and run, and now we're down like about 5 days, down to the 20-day retesting, kind of at near that gap fill. So that goes on bounce watch. Potential 1 day play or intraday play. CCCL had a nice move on this day from 322 to 607. I do not want to dismiss something like that. And by the way, did it on over 17 million shares. So now we're down, 4 days lower. Pretty good setup. Found some buyers below 4. Pretty good setup for a potential bounce on Monday. XCOM, this thing feels extended, but we had a nice trade in it on Friday, and it's holding up pretty well. Maybe it just goes crazy again. We got to watch these low floaters that are holding up well. They can give you nice trades as long as you're very selective about possible entries. CLD, nice upside breakout on big volume on Friday. We'll just be looking for a potential follow-through day there. Again, only with the right intraday setup. Kind of the same deal with YRCW, nice volume spike out of a long range, so that one might continue. Held up nicely after gapping up to the 200-day and running. It's holding nicely above the 200-day, so this one might have a follow-through day. TSRI, now only 2.4 million shares traded on Friday. Super low float here, and I think that's why it ran. I mean, this intraday range was 435 to 678. It did close nicely above its open of 5, so that one's crazy whippy, but I think it deserves to be on watch for the next few days to see if we get a low risk setup. If you've watched my videos, a lot of times I'll recap some of our low risk entries from the previous day's watch list, and so go through those and you'll kind of see some of the things that I'm looking for there. NFEC, really big pop. This was on our watch list a couple days ago, and then I took it off, and then it did this. But again, you'll notice a pattern here. 95 cents to $1.85, right? So basically doubled on an intraday basis at one point before settling in at 131. Another really low float, great volume on Friday. Possible red to green or something like that on Monday. We'll keep it on watch. SIEB. Now see, this big volume spike here equates to about 500,000 shares. So this thing, you can tell it's super thin. Probably won't trade this one. I'm showing 2.2 million in the float. But I'm going to have it on a chart. I think I'm getting like that fear of missing out. So many low floaters are ripping. It's like I don't want to miss one. Having said that, this is probably, probably my least favorite on the watch list because it's just it is just too low volume, but maybe some news comes in or something anyway. GoPro, I like this one. Had resistance back here, slightly above 14, and again here, and then just sold off, and then came back and you can kind of picture a longer term cup and handle here. I really like the volume spike on Thursday, and then the kind of lower volume, kind of quiet inside day on Friday. Really like it over Friday's high, over 1289. Could easily push it through Thursday's high, and then this other recent high right here. So you have what we call stacked catalysts. The first entry would probably be 1290. I'm going to put that in my notes, but keep in mind, This one might open at 1270 and stay in a 1270 to 1280 range for 30 minutes. And then if it breaks the high of day, which would be 1281, knowing that 1290 is my next catalyst, and then 1329 is the next catalyst, and then 1341 is the next catalyst, so you'll have stacked catalysts. We might find an entry like that example, in the 1280. So I know that's a strange hypothetical situation, but it just goes to show that I don't live and die by that 1290 number. We might be able to get in below that, knowing that 1290 is the next catalyst above. So just keep that in mind when you watch these things unfold throughout the day. Where am I? Juco Pro KOOL again. Low float squeezer. 4 sessions ago? 350 to 684. 3 consecutive lower highs. Now you did put in a green candle on Friday, kind of at former resistance, that $4 area, and you kind of had the 8-day close too. So this one, you could say now it's found support. It might be ready to just rip back higher again. I'm going to put 430 in my notes because that would be a break of Friday's high. But as I just said for GoPro, 430 is not a number I live and die by. It is just a potential catalyst, and I might get a better setup on an intraday basis. That's a tough trader at times, so be careful. You want to see volume with any kind of move on that one. ENVA, little breakout on Friday. Again, remember, decent volume, but everything's relative. This volume spike here still didn't hit 1 million shares, and if you go back, a big standout volume day was 1 million shares. So you've got a thinner trader. I'll glance at the float real quick. 22 million in the float. It's in the credit services space. The reason I like it is because if it gets over Friday's high, which I'm going to put 918 in my notes, and you can also just put a line on your chart, so it's just a visual effect on Monday. But 918, if it gets to 918, which is a break of Friday's high, you look to the left, there's really nothing in the way except maybe you have another catalyst of 955, right? So if 918 could easily rip it through a recent high, and then it could be off to the races. So it's kind of a stacked catalyst setup. So 918, and I'm going to actually put 955 in my notes as well, knowing that that's another possible catalyst. All right. In other words, that's a place, if it gets up over this high, that could bring in more buyers. Okay. Shorts might cover combination of the two. And then Life, LIFE, nice volume spike on Friday, which took out this high from a little over a week ago. 339 was this high. It hit 343 on decent volume on Friday. So you can put in 344 as one potential catalyst on Monday. But that's a decent looking chart coming out of nice support. He had this spike, came back in, and then another spike. It's a pretty good setup here on LIFE. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. That's plenty, if not too much, to watch on Monday. And we'll also add in potential gappers in the morning before the open. Hopefully, a lot of times I can make my whole daily goal on a morning gapper. Real quick, I'll show you SPU as an example. We had this on watch. If you watch my watch list video on Thursday night, we had it on watch, and then lo and behold, it gapped up on Friday. And I literally called this. Here's the gap up. So there's a 1 minute high, and then it looked like sellers were coming in. As soon as I saw these sellers for the opening 2 minutes start to fail, I knew this one had potential. It's a recent low float. So I just basically called this verbally over the mic, and it was right about here. I said, hey, if this breaks 13, this could rip. And I actually got filled on the way up, I think at 1296 or something. And I don't know, within 12 to 15 minutes, I was up $1,800 and didn't need to trade any more of the day. Although I did trade a few more times and get myself up over a couple grand on the day. So there's an example of something that we might play as a morning gapper. And that's what, as a group, we work together to define and identify those in the pre-market and build our list every morning before the open. Incidentally, in the first 10 minutes of the session, that watch list I just gave you, generally I don't watch that watch list. For the first 10 minutes, gap plays get 100% of my attention. And generally, if I have a trigger price on something else, excuse me, like the charts I just showed you, I'm choking here. Generally, if those hit a trigger price, like a break of a previous day's high in the opening 10 minutes, they have a higher tendency to fail anyway. So I want those to kind of break a previous day's high maybe after 15 or 20 minutes or later in the session. So they're more powerful that way from what I have found. So generally, it's a good idea to give gap plays 100% of your attention for the first 10 minutes or so. All right, I'm going to quit babbling. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.